Hello and welcome to the Fossil Arcade podcast. My name's Graham and I'm here with
Alex, hello.
And Ben, hello.
And we're going to discuss 2019 and our games of the year, basically. What games we've been playing most in 2019, what was our favourite game of the year, or in some cases, what was the best game. And then we'll wrap up at the end with what we're looking forward to most in 2020. And I'm still kind of getting used to saying 2020 because, you know, it just sounds like the future, but like, yeah, it's already upon us. This year just seemed to just go so quick. I don't know about you guys.
No, it really did.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we'll get into our first topic, which is what we've been playing most this year. So Alex, why don't you kick us off with whatever's been occupying your time most of all in gaming?
2019, I think probably, I really had to sit back and think about this question, and it was probably between a few games. It's kind of hard to pinpoint one, but I do think it's actually Red Dead Redemption 2 for the
really?
PlayStation 4, because I had that, it came out 2018, but I actually got it for Christmas 2018. So
yeah, that makes it a 2019
did, yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So I just sunk, I don't even know how many hours into Red Dead Redemption 2. Not all of it positive. It started off that way. I don't know if either of you have actually played it.
No.
I played about 10 minutes of it, and
yeah, of course,
although it may be sacrilege, I didn't really like it, to be honest.
Did you buy it, Graham?
No, I was given it. This funny story, a colleague of my girlfriend somehow ended up with 2 copies by mistake, and one of them was free, so they just gave one to Lucy, and Lucy doesn't care about Red Dead, so I played it. But I loved Red Dead 1, and I played it. I think I was in a bad mood, but I just didn't like the controls, so I really need to go back to it because I didn't give it a fair try. But yeah,
I think the way you've had the game though is both fortunate and unfortunate, because you were gifted it, which is great, but because you didn't pay for it, you almost doesn't matter.
No incentive to play.
True.
Exactly. If you bought that, you'd have played a few hours at least.
I'd say that Red Dead, the first one, probably.
You mean Redemption, yeah, not Revolver.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption,
Yeah.
not Revolver. That was probably the best game of the last generation, I would say, like overall. So it's not that I'm like not a Red Dead fan. I just didn't like the control scheme.
Yeah, the control scheme's a bit dated, and there's almost like a button for everything in Red Dead Redemption 2. There's a button combination for shooting your gun into the air and things like that.
Oh my god,
So,
that
yeah.
sounds way too involved. It's too much.
That comes up in one mission. You know, you have to herd some cattle or something like that, and you have to shoot in the air to help to herd them. And that doesn't really come. You can use it any time, but of course, there's nowhere else you really need to use it. But it's like hold L1, press up, press fire. You know, it's some crazy combination. But yeah, overall, Red Dead Redemption 2, I really loved it at the start because the graphics are absolutely incredible. Not that it's all about graphics, but it really draws you into the world. The story is excellent as well, and the characters. It's probably got the best character interaction of any game, really, because you set up various camps throughout the game, and you can just keep going back, and you can play cards with people. They can give you missions. You can just talk to them about stuff, and you really get a sense of like a living world and a living camp that you're in, and it feels like it's going on when you're not there. And I think when you start the game, it's very easy to lose hours really into just hanging around in this camp and just helping to cook the food and silly things like this.
You've been playing mostly the single player, is that, or do you spend a lot of time online?
No, I've never played the online actually.
Well, so you've got like a whole another 12 months of online play to go potentially.
Yeah, definitely. But I found at the very start of the game, I was completely drawn in, and I loved the story, and I loved all the different landscapes and towns. Again, the towns are large and there's so much to do. But for me, where it fell apart slightly was the game, to me, was just too long. It just goes on and on and on. And when you get to what you think is the end of the game, there's another like fair few hours, like maybe 5 to 10 hours when you think it's actually ended.
But you say you've been playing it the most. Then have you been enjoying it?
Well, yeah, this is what I'm saying. It's a combination, really. I have been enjoying it most of the time, but not all of the time. I think had it been a bit shorter, I would have come away from it with a lot more of a positive reaction.
Yeah.
My favourite part of the game were the you just meet unexpected people as you're going around, and it doesn't even set off like a proper mission. You'll just have a convict sort of come wandering out of the forest, and they're in chains, and they'll say, "Will you shoot the chains off and help me?" This is just one of many, many situations, and you can choose exactly what you want to do. You can carry on, you could kill them, you can release them, you could do exactly as you like, and sometimes it doesn't work out for you because they might try and rob you when you've helped them. So it's this kind of unexpected stuff. You'll just find, and you'll find other people attacking other people. So people trying to rob armored carriages and things like that. And again, you can think to yourself, I'll join in this, or I'll kill the lot of them, or I'll help the law.
It sounds really sandboxy.
Yeah, it is. It is, but again, that doesn't kind of get in the way of the narrative.
Yeah, okay.
And those are optional parts, but they were probably the most fun you can have. Because they have a morality meter as well, so as you play the game, I think it probably affects the ending, but I've only done one playthrough, but you can choose, if you want to hurt people and torture them or whatever else, or I was a do-gooder on this playthrough, because...
What a surprise.
That's how you get the better ending.
Oh, fair enough.
But so that was Red Dead for me. But Ben, what's been occupying you in 2019?
I was thinking about this, like, what have I played most? And pretty much everything I've played has been really short. They tend to be like 10-hour games or something like that. So I haven't really sunk a lot of time into anything specific, except maybe Stardew Valley, but that came out like, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Didn't you go on a big binge, though, of like one particular franchise?
Well, yeah, I was going to cover that when we got to our Game of the Year.
But I think Stardew Valley could count, because I didn't look at this question as what 2019 game has occupied me. It's just what game occupied me in this year.
Yeah.
So, I could have gone back to Sonic 1 and played it a million times.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably quite easily done that, actually.
It probably was Stardew Valley. That's just one of those games where it's like, just another day. I'll just do one more day. And because the game never ends, you don't stop playing. I'm a massive Harvest Moon or Story of Seasons fan, and so it's just easy for me to while away my time in that. And my sister got it as well actually. And
it's got online.
It has, yeah. So you can visit each other's farm.
Nice.
But we haven't actually done it yet. So we've still been busy with our own farms. But that
Do you feel like you want to make your farm like really, really good before you show it off? Is that the reason?
That did help, because I was going to say, my sister then getting the game actually encouraged me to play it again, because I was like, I wonder what's been happening on my farm. And that's when I decided that I actually needed to develop it a bit further, because when I saw hers, I was like, she actually put some effort into making it look nice.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't, and mine was like, it was just weeds and trees and like a few potatoes, and I was like, what the f have I been doing for 2 years? So yeah, I decided to up my game a little bit. But yeah, actually I do need to get in touch with her so we can actually go properly visit each other's farms. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, have either of you played it?
I've never played it. I mean, I've been interested in it, but the thing for me is that one of the time sinks that I play is Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I was going to sink a lot of time into Stardew Valley, I would start to miss my Animal Crossing village.
Yeah.
And just be like, I'll just play that instead. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, I never really considered about playing it online, and that's one of the big things I like about Animal Crossing. But when you play online in Stardew Valley, I assume you might be able to get a bit more out of it, like trading stock and stuff, and maybe it's a more kind of collaborative in that way. When you play multiplayer on Animal Crossing, you're basically just visiting the town and you just see it and you're just like, oh yeah, nice, and you go home, more or less.
As far as I know, in the multiplayer in Stardew, you don't get anything from each other's farms. You just help build each other's farms.
But you can like give people. You could just say to like your sister, like, oh, I need you to like, harvest these crops, and she could go off and do it for you. And
yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting that I kind of like put Animal Crossing and Harvest Moon against each other, but I think the one difference between them absolutely sets them apart, where Animal Crossing, it carries, like, your towns carry on when you're not playing, whereas Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, they don't. So I could leave it for a year, come back, and I pick up where I was. And I feel like, so for you, Graham, I don't think you'd get into Stardew Valley because of that. I feel like when you've got something's still kind of growing, essentially, your tendency to revisit it is much more likely.
Yeah,
Whereas
and it's
you could put down Stardew Valley and, like I did, forget about it for a year and then come back to it.
yeah, I like that though. That it's, I mean, it'd be interesting if there was a Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley game where it did kind of carry on, and I wonder if the new Animal Crossing next year might have more kind of job-like elements where you can grow stuff, and I'll be interested to look at that, whether they're kind of learning from the success of Stardew Valley, because it's been a pretty big global hit, that game, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. I was following that for, I think, 4 years before it came out.
Wow.
And so I was really excited about it. But then when it came out, it didn't have multiplayer straight away. And that was one of the things I was looking forward to. And then I was sort of a bit like, oh. And then I didn't really get into it. But then since the multiplayer's been added, I haven't even used it. So
Overall, though, you've waited for 4 years. Has the game lived up to the hype for you?
yeah, it definitely did. Yeah, absolutely solid. And he's really impressive considering it's just one guy. He did all the programming, the art design, and the music for it.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it's, yeah, a really
I was going to
strong
say,
effort.
I've actually got it on Switch.
Oh, have you?
And I have played it, but I didn't really get into it. I don't know. I probably didn't give it enough time. I just got it in a sale, and I started up, and I think I'm not so used to that style of game.
It's
and
quite a
I
niche
think that-
thing, I think.
Yeah, I liked it, and I really liked the graphical style and everything like that. But I think that almost the lack of direction threw me a bit. I wasn't looking for a linear game, but maybe a bit more of an understanding of how everything works at the start.
Yeah, I think part of that is maybe there's an expectation that anyone who's playing it would have played Harvest Moon or something like that, and that
Maybe
kind of
like
gives
your
you a bit of
genre initiation's already been.
yeah,
had.
exactly.
When you say it's got multiplayer, Ben, does that, can you play it like simultaneously from like the couch?
No,
Oh, see, that's the thing. I feel like I
Right.
could.
that really threw me because that's what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And I remember during development, he was saying, like, he was asking the community, about the best way to go around doing this, and that was one of the options, was potentially having a kind of a split screen, like a dynamic split screen or something like that. And yeah, it didn't happen. It was probably too difficult to do. So
If there's not enough, desire for it from the community, I could see why they would put that to one side.
yeah,
They're finally adding that in the next Animal Crossing, but I don't think it's going to have split screen. I think you have to always be in the same space. So it's kind of like they've moved a little bit closer to full like simultaneous play, but it still has that one detraction where it's like, well, I still have to be near you. It's like you can't.
For a game like that would be annoying because that'd be so irritating in Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I'm still going to play the hell out of it regardless. So
But yeah, I think that's probably my most played, and then yeah, the other stuff was just like, yeah, arcade games, really short games. I was like, these don't count. So yeah, that's the one.
Well,
that was the time
if you-
sink for me.
if you played like 500 hours of Outrun though, that would just be that'd be your year, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's coming close.
Exactly.
Well, I was looking at my Switch to see what my most played was, and YouTube is like just absolutely winning.
Fossil Arcade's #1 fan.
Yeah, there it is. So, Graham, what about you?
The game I played most this year was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm gonna
Yeah,
look on my Switch actually. To see.
whenever I'm on my Switch, you pop up and it says that.
I've played, how much is it? 425 hours of Smash Bros. Ultimate.
When did
Wow.
Smash Bros? Was it last year or this year? I can't even
Came
remember.
out sort of just December, I think it was when it
Yeah,
came out.
yeah, it was.
Right.
So that's basically 12 months of play. And the thing with me and Smash Bros is that when I was a kid, I loved Smash, but my friends were better than me by a long margin. And then when Smash 4 came out for like 3DS, I actually was able to put that handheld time into it and get quite good. And that was about the point where all my friends decided that they were over Smash Brothers and didn't want to play anymore. So now I just play Smash like
Sorry.
I just play Smash online like all the time. I basically play, 425 hours. I don't know what that is divided by 365, but it's more than an hour a day, right? So I play it a lot. But the thing is that even though this is like the biggest Smash Brothers ever, they've got over 70 characters now. I basically just play Bowser like all the time. I've played more than 4,000 rounds with Bowser.
Wow.
So I'm pretty pleased with like my own skills. I'm not like great, but I'm happy with like, oh, if I look at how I was when I was like a teenager or in my 20s, and now I'm pretty good with Bowser, just Bowser. Like I'm not great with anybody else, but I'm thinking like it's probably about time I went and found a local tournament and just tick that off the bucket list. I wouldn't win. I'd probably get beaten by like some 13-year-old, but I'm interested to see like playing online is one thing because you just get ranked with your own like skill group. But if you went to a tournament with real people, it's a totally different situation. You get that face-to-face playtime, which is really what I crave. But to speak to Smash Brothers as a game, Ultimate as a game, it's the best Smash in terms of its gameplay. In terms of the actual fighting, it's never been better because they took what worked so well with the larger character dynamics of Smash 4 and paired it with the speed and agility that was popular in Melee on the GameCube. So you've basically got as close as you're ever going to come to a Melee HD remake here, except it's got over 70 characters. So it has evolved quite a bit, but what I miss about those older games is that with the smaller character roster, you got more superfluous distractions. There was more mini-games and modes and stuff. And because the development team has put all their time into making 70-plus fighters, it really is so honed in on that one fighting mode.
Yeah.
And like I say, like it couldn't be much better. I feel like I said that about Smash 4, but honestly, like the brawling in this is so good. It's just a shame it's missing like a few more distractions. Like I like break the targets and reach the platforms and all that stuff that was in the older games, and this has got just fewer mini games. So,
Right.
And the only other thing that is exciting about Ultimate is that although the achievement itself of having all these characters is like almost you can't get your head around it. It's just like there's so many now from so many different companies. I'm really, really interested and already quite excited to see what the sequel does because they have said that they won't do this all-star roster again, and I'm wondering how far back will they cut the list and who will remain and who will go, and what maybe they'll change the art style or maybe they'll change how smashing works. And it feels almost like this is the definitive edition of the previous game, and it is the best Smash Brothers to just sit and smash. But it's as much as I'm enjoying it, the question it poses for what comes next is almost as exciting as the game itself.
Which is exactly what I was gonna pose, because I was like, where can they go from here? I mean, it's in the title, right? It's Ultimate. So what can you do after this point? And this idea of cutting back the roster just made me think about Pokemon Sword and Shield. And maybe since that debacle, they might actually be like, oh, wait, can we do this?
Let's just do more characters.
Yeah.
But I don't see how they can, because if you imagine, like, the starting roster of Ultimate was 69, I think, and they've said they've done 5 DLC characters this year. They've said they're going to do more this year. So this could cap out at being an 85 character roster. So then if Smash Ultimate 2 came along with 85 on the board from the beginning, and then they were like, oh, we've got to do more DLC. It's just like, oh my God. What I really want them to do for a sequel to Ultimate would be to bring the roster down to about 38, 40 or so, and introduce a true tag team mode where you have the option to pick 2 or 3 fighters and you can swap them out during the match. So it's like, okay, I've got my Bowser, this is going well. Oh no, I'm on the ropes here. Bring in Ness, who's the other character I've played a lot as. And without losing a stock, you've actually swapped the character. They've got a new mode in Smash Ultimate, which I really, really like, which is called Smash Squad, where you can choose between 3 to 5 fighters and have them fight in a row, but you have to lose a stock before you go on to the next one. And the other thing that's a detractor for that mode is that it's only local. You can't play that mode online. So that would be the top of my wish list for the next Smash game, is a true tag team mode where you can dynamically switch throughout the match. Because you have that bit with Pokemon Trainer. That's like a 3-team character. So just being able to do that with any trio of characters would be fantastic.
I feel like I sort of lost interest in Smash because maybe it's not fair to say this, but the changes were incremental. Like it was kind of steadily getting better, and I was like, I feel like I've played this, and
they're just refining it. They're not evolving it,
and it just got played out for me. So in order for me to get back into it, it'd have to be a different game entirely, I think.
But I hadn't even thought about this reinvention until Graham brought it up now. But to me, I find that really exciting. I'd love to see what they could do. Like next E3, or well, it's not going to be the next one, but a future Nintendo Direct or wherever. You imagine this like trailer to show off a brand new art style. Don't even need to give away all the characters, but I think Graham could be onto something there.
But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Smash Brothers, and I've got a sort of a New Year's resolution building already that I'm going to still play Bowser because Bowser's been my main since Melee. But I wanted to try and find a new character next year so I can sort of
nice.
mix up a bit more.
I think of all games you could play this year and sink your time into, though, Smash is a great one just because of that breadth of content. It's easy to spend 400 hours.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Well, Graham, I know your girlfriend's most played game, because I was having a little look on the Switch to see the most
oh
played game.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right.
490 hours in Civ.
Civ 5, was it?
5 or 6, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't play any of them, but I saw that and I was like, oh, she's trumped all of us.
Oh yeah, this is the thing, is that last Christmas I bought her Pokemon, which she asked for, a Let's Go Eevee. What is it? Oh yeah, Civ 6.
Yeah.
And then on a whim, it was almost Christmas Eve, and I thought I should get her something extra because she only had the one thing from me, and I was like, oh yeah, Civ. So I bought it, and I thought I can always return it. She doesn't like it, and she barely touched that Pokemon game, and she played nearly 500 hours of Civilization. So she really liked it. And the thing with her as well is that she's not bothered by superfluous modes. I'm saying, in Smash Brothers I want to do extra things, and Alex was talking about all the distractions you've got in Red Dead and all that kind of stuff. Lucy's just played the main mode of Civ on repeat for 500 hours, and I was like, oh, there's scenarios and online multiplayer, and what are they
nah.
He's like, I don't care. It's just
Brilliant.
but I've sat and played 4,000 online matches, almost all of them as Bowser, so
Yeah, you can't talk.
exactly. So those were our most played games from 2019.
Yep.
So now we're going to move on to what our favourite game of the year, and you can also spin it a different way if you think it was the best game of the year. Maybe your favourite is also the best. But yeah, Alex, you can go first and let us know what was the best game of 2019.
Okay, my best game of 2019 was Control.
Control?
Yeah.
What is Control? I don't know.
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked.
Was that a genuine ask? Or...
That was a genuine ask. I'm not sure what it is.
Oh my word.
Maybe I do. I don't know.
You will have. I'm fairly sure you will have seen it.
I'm
It's made
Googling
by
it.
Remedy, who made the Alan Wake game or games.
Oh.
There's a few, isn't there, Alan Wake?
Yes.
So it's a third person. It's kind of hard to give it a genre, but you would say it's like a third person action shooter.
Yep.
With sort of mystical elements, I suppose. And actually, Ben, I think you would quite like it because it's another fairly narrative-driven game, but it takes a lot of inspiration, I feel, from Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
So it probably something you'd really like.
Probably because Alan Wake did as well, and I liked all that kind of Twin Peaks.
That's obviously just
inspiration.
Remedy's thing.
Yeah.
Did they make Alan Wake then as well?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
they
did.
did.
Yeah.
Right.
From the name, I had no idea what it was, so I kind of didn't really tie that together. But so I just kind of got it and jumped straight in, and yeah, it was. I think I played through it quite quickly. And again, it's a game that's probably a bit longer than you would expect for the type of game it is, but I burned through it really quickly because the story is good, but the actual controls and the gunplay and using your powers is brilliant. So the gameplay is just, I thought, was fantastic. So the idea is your character, Jessie, she's looking for her brother, and she believes he's been taken by the Federal Bureau of Control, and their headquarters, it's called the Oldest House, and it's just kind of in the middle of New York, but it's a bit Harry Potter Grimmauld Place style, that if you don't need to see it, you can't see it. So it's kind of there, just in the middle of, I think it's New York, in the middle of New York, and people are just wandering past, and to them it just looks like a boring old office building or something you would never need to go into. But you go inside, and at first it does look like a very normal office sort of space, but it quickly starts to get a lot more nightmarish. And so this race of beings called the Hiss has started taking over all of the staff and turning them into kind of like possessed ghouls, monsters, and it's really unsettling. And one of the main things about it is it just has really excellent audio design. So the Hiss, when they're not attacking you, they make the people just levitate 10 feet into the air, and they all just talk constantly and just say really weird, horrible things to you, or just out to the open air. And as you walk past them, they're just saying that you can just, especially if you play through headphones, you've just got all these voices going around your head. It's really unsettling, and it's kind of, I guess it's meant to be there to make you sort of get a sense of what it might be like to kind of lose your mind.
It sounds a bit like Hellblade.
Yeah, I didn't play Hellblade,
Okay.
but yeah, I know of that. Yeah, there is an element to that. And so you've got these floating people around, and they've been taken over by the Hiss, but they never actually really hurt you. But you can shoot them and attack them and kind of make them disappear, and then they don't talk anymore. So you kind of end up doing that, but you kind of feel a bit bad. You think, could I have maybe brought these people back if I didn't kill them? But their voices are really getting on my nerves. But yeah, it's kind of it's almost a hard game to explain unless you've played it or have seen it. But as you go through, you start to unlock powers. So they have these objects of power which are meant to have been found by the Federal Bureau of Control and taken back for studying, and they're just everyday things generally, like television sets. But you have to do a particular mission where you'll go into a different dimension and you'll have to overcome an obstacle, and then you unlock a power. So you unlock kind of like a Star Wars Force Push style ability, which you can upgrade. You end up levitating. You can make energy shields. So it adds a whole new element to the gunplay. And it's very interesting. You only actually have one gun in the whole game, but as you go on, you level it up and you give it abilities. But you also unlock. It can kind of morph and change, so it can turn into a shotgun, and it can turn into, sort of like a sniper rifle as you go through the game. So although visually you look like you've only got one gun, it actually has many different styles.
When I saw some trailers for it, and it looked kind of like X-Files crossed with Carrie. It was kind of weird looking. It did look fun. It looked satisfying to play, but
it's got a very unique graphical style as well.
Oh, do you think? I wasn't sure about that. I just remember thinking.
It looks a bit like Alan Wake, probably, Remedy style. But the motion, the way they use the motion blur, and things like that. It's a bit different to anything else I've played. Okay. That's probably one of the only gripes. Really, is there's quite a few glitches in the game.
Oh, really?
Just a little bit immersion breaking at times. But it has some. This is probably what caused a lot of the glitches. It has some amazing particle effects, best particle effects I've seen in a game. And when you have this sort of force push kind of mechanic, you can walk into an office and trigger it against an enemy or just anywhere, and paper and desks and everything just flies into the air and goes mad. And that's quite it's quite fun to do. Especially,
does it have like a VR mode or anything?
No, it doesn't actually, but it is getting some DLC, which I have a feeling is releasing soon. So that's going to be quite exciting to look forward to. But it's for anyone listening or for either of you, I'd definitely recommend it.
Oh, cool!
Really worth picking up, and really worth looking further into if you're unsure. Watch a few reviews or videos and see what you think.
Sounds like they could have potentially set up quite a deep franchise themselves if they want to expand on it in the future.
Definitely, and it actually, as well, there's a nod to it taking place in the Alan Wake universe.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very small nod, but yeah, that's quite. I've never played Alan Wake, but I did like the idea that any future games they make might all be part of a kind of a multiverse.
That's the money.
I really liked Alan Wake, but there were so many times when, just as like something's happening, you kind of speak to people, and for some reason, you end up in a wood, like in the forest, and it's like, oh, for God's sake! every single time you'd start playing, you end up in a forest. It's like, it was really good, and I loved all the set pieces and stuff like that. But any gameplay, you end up stuck in the forest again. Like, oh, for sake.
No forests in control.
Okay, thank God.
You'll be glad to know. So Ben, what about you? Top game of the year?
River City Girls, and I got that as a birthday present to myself, just because I was gonna wait for a sale. I was like, no, I really want to play this because I do like the River City games. And I was like, £25, is that a lot? But
Not on your birthday.
not on my birthday. It's a good excuse. And I'm glad I did it because it's actually become one of my favourite games of all time.
Wow.
It is
Not just 2019.
not just 2019.
All time.
All time, yeah. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a side-scrolling brawler, which, as you know, that's my thing all over. And it's I'm not sure if it's a spin-off or if it actually takes place as part of the continuity of the River City series. But it sort of doesn't matter either way because
So they call it a soft reboot, isn't it?
I don't know if that's even it. I've got a feeling that this is going to kind of splinter off and be its own series, perhaps. If they don't do a sequel to this, it'll be an absolute sin, to be honest.
So it's kind of like when you saw, like, Aladdin, the Disney movie in the 90s, and then there was the Aladdin TV show, which wasn't really canon, but it was like a sequel to the movie.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit like that, actually.
So Ben, what makes this stand higher than other beat 'em ups? Because you say you're quite a fan of beat 'em ups.
It's a combination of everything in it. So it's got really detailed pixel art, and I was reading about it, and they're saying that they didn't have they didn't design like bits to put in an environment to build the environment. They actually drew the entire scene.
All right.
If you see like a row of shops, it's not like they've like individually drawn the shops and put them together. It's all part of one scene, and it really does pay off because every area you go into has its own strong identity. Great pixel art. The animations of all the characters as well are like so many like minute details, like when you hit someone, like their eyes bulge and stuff like that. And to be able to capture that in pixel art is really good. And it's just got a really strong visual style, and then it's backed up with this kind of synth pop soundtrack by I can't remember her name, Megan McDuffie, I think. I might be wrong. She does all the music for it, and then you got the boss fights, and that's got music by a band called Chipsil, who I actually had heard of. All of these things they blended together absolutely perfectly. Part of what makes it so good is like if you're a fan of the series, it really brought the characters that recur in it to life, because I feel like when I play the River City games, like, I see the character names, I'm talking to them, blah 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 blah, and you don't really get any sense of identity. Because this game's so almost over stylized, every character is kind of like very caricaturish, and when I go back and play the older games, it's sort of brought those characters to life since playing this.
Filled them in.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you start to feel much more involved with it in that way.
So how many River City games are there? I've never played.
There's I think about 50.
What?
Oh, right.
Yeah, like
Wow.
something like that. So a few of them are remakes. A lot of them are sports games or or Smash Bros style fighting games.
They need to do a collection, don't they? Really?
Yeah, you know what? They really do, because there's some fantastic games out there. And actually, these the two characters you play as in River City Girls, Misako and Kyoko, they were in this one SNES. Oh, actually, no, they were in multiple games, to be fair, but their primary appearance was in this the SNES sequel to River City Ransom, and you could play as them in that, and that was kind of it. They were in some of the sports games and mentioned in other places as well, but that's the only time they ever really appeared. And I feel like unless you look into this kind of stuff, you'd never know that. Because so much of it is just locked away in Japan, and it doesn't really make its way here, and it's such a shame because it's a huge series, but I don't think people really know just how deep it goes.
I really like that payoff, though, that if you have played the old games or you've been a fan from the start, that you will know these characters from the SNES.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like great to revisit something from that long ago.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, that's another thing that I think this game did so well is it's chock full of references to the past series and like Double Dragon and stuff like that, because they're all part of the same universe. But it doesn't overwhelm you, because if you were to play it new, you wouldn't know these references are there. It doesn't distract from what you're actually doing. It's all so cohesive. Like, it doesn't matter that, the floor in the high school says the Japanese name of the school or something. It's like, if you knew that, you'd be like, oh, that's a cool little nod there, but it's not a distraction. And it's just, it's absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love it. And as soon as I finished playing it, I just started again, and I played it a second time.
Brilliant.
So I've played through it twice now, and I'm about to do my third run through, because there's a couple of items I still need to get.
It sounds really, really polished.
It is absolutely fantastic. It's a lot like the Scott Pilgrim game, I think, but in a good way. It's I wouldn't say it's kind of ripping off, definitely inspired by, but it's still got its own identity.
Scott Pilgrim was basically just like a River City, game, basically, wasn't it?
That is exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of love for the series in this game, and I really, really hope they continue with this, because they've absolutely nailed it.
Doesn't sound like the series is going to stop.
No, like we're on 50 games now.
in.
So I think it's 50, something like that. That's my 2019. I could go on a long time about this, but I feel like it's Graham's turn now. Let's hear, what was your 2019 game of the year?
Resident Evil 2, the remake. I'm quite late to Resident Evil fandom. I played them when I was younger, but only sort of like casually. Never really finished one. But then since like mid 2018, I went on like a Resident Evil binge where I finished the first one, the remake, finally. Then I played through 7 in VR, which is one of my favourite games ever. It's so good. And then just after that experience, Resident Evil 2 remake came out in January. And it picks up off the back of the original Resident Evil 1 remake from the early 2000s. So people have been waiting for it a long time. Not me personally, but there was a lot of hype behind it when it came out, and I think Capcom really rose to the occasion. That they've done well with Resident Evil 7, kind of bringing the franchise back from kind of a period of lower quality. And they knew that 2 was a big one, that it was a fan favourite from the kind of golden era of the franchise, and they wanted to give people exactly what they wanted in terms of like it's a really, really polished, like top end game. And the perfect thing about it, really the best way to sum it up, is that it has all the modern amenities that you would expect from a game that was made in 2019, but it also contains all the classical elements that made gaming great in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because the Resident Evil franchise itself stepped away from puzzles and survival into action. We don't have Silent Hill anymore because Konami stopped making them. And it just felt like they brought back a style of game which Resident Evil was the perfect example of before, and just reminded people, like, remember how good this was?
Yeah.
While it's a remake, a lot of these puzzles and things are actually brand new, and show that they can make a brand new sort of Resident Evil now, even though it is a Resident Evil 2 remake. There's puzzles in Resident Evil 2 on the PS1 that don't reappear, and there's brand new things in their place. I wouldn't say Resident Evil 2 is the scariest Resident Evil, though. 7 still holds that position for me personally. But
is that partly the VR, though?
Partially the VR. I feel like with Resident Evil 7, more because it's first person than VR, obviously the two things go hand in hand, but because the character is kind of you in a way in 7. There is a protagonist and there's a character and there's a story that goes with it, so it's not an Avatar kind of game, but it feels like things are happening more directly to you, whereas in Resident Evil 2 you get more invested in the characters of Leon and Claire, and you sort of see their narratives. So although it does have very, very intense moments, it's not quite as frightening because you're sort of watching it happen to somebody else.
Yeah, player agency's been taken away, isn't it?
Slightly, but the great thing about the horror and the gore and the violence in Resident Evil 2 is that it is very kind of artistically done. Like when you see like some gruesome sort of corpse that's been left by the zombies, they really go all in on maximizing the visual appeal of the dismemberment, and it just looks so good. Where you'll just be like taken aback by like you can see like somebody's face might be ripped open, and you can see with little kind of like sinews and things.
Oh, I saw that in the demo.
Yeah, with the policeman's
So
face
gross.
opening up and stuff.
Yeah, that was horrific.
And it has this dynamic dismemberment system where if a zombie is coming towards you, you can give them a headshot and dispatch them quite easily that way. But also, if you fire at their arms and legs, they will dismember dynamically. So you can blow off a leg, and the zombie will fall to the floor and animate in a kind of natural sort of, the physics engine lets them crawl and climb over stuff and try and get you based on how you've kind of injured them. So every kind of zombie interaction feels very unique. And if you fire at the head and you miss and you get an arm and the arm comes off, it just changes kind of the situation. It might give you an opportunity to sneak round, or if you want to just like play with them a bit, you can shoot off the feet and just watch them sort of like wriggle about, and eventually you end up with just a torso sort of flopping back and forth on the ground. So it's sort of like a game within a game.
Because this Resi 2 was almost a tie for me in terms of best game of the year.
Okay.
Because I loved it as well. But yeah, I mean, one thing when I played it, most of the time I had to play it on headphones because my wife found the noise of the zombies really disgusting. Because the way they retch, and she'd either have to leave the room or I'd have to put on headphones because she just couldn't stand it. It is awful. The sound effect is just, but it's so effective for that reason.
I played it mostly with headphones because of the Mr. X factor.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure everybody who's played it, they know. But Mr. X is sort of this tyrant level zombie who pursues you through most of the game. He tracks you, and when you're in, the first part of the game, the big set piece is the Raccoon City police station, and when you're trapped in the police station, you can always hear where the tyrant kind of is because he's so lumbering and loud and sort of like trying to track you down. So you hear him like slamming open doors and like walking past and stuff. And if you wear headphones and you get the 3D audio, you can sort of listen and be like, okay, is he right outside the room or is he outside around the corner? And you can be very strategic about, where to go next based on where he is. But then occasionally the game will do a very video game thing and just like have him appear without the sound. It's like, okay, he was there and I didn't you get absorbed in something and he's just there. So that element of it was quite intense. The only detractor for Resident Evil 2 for me was that I didn't really care for the bosses so much because you'll spend so much time avoiding a handful of zombies, and usually you'll save like a grenade or a heavy duty weapon so that if you do come across a horde of zombies, you can take them out in one go. And carry on. But when you come to face with like some mega boss, it's rare that you've had the gameplay learning experiences necessary to kind of take them out first try. So a couple of the bosses kind of threw me for a loop, and I didn't really care for them because I felt like it was a little bit on the unfair side. Like, you're asking me to deal with a situation here that I have no prior knowledge of, so I would prefer it that they either eased into the action more, or maybe just like have the boss battles be less about rocket launchers and chainsaws and stuff. So that was my one detractor really. But the game looks great, sounds great, and just today it's sneaky leaked out that they're well into production on Resident Evil 3 as a remake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they've uploaded the purchase icons are on the PlayStation Store, and people rip into the PlayStation Store all the time to see what games are coming.
Yeah.
And the thing is that 2 only came out in January. If they've already got the icon ready for 3, that means it can't be that far off.
Wow.
So I'm guessing, like you said, it was based on the Resi 7 engine, that whatever it's called, RE engine.
Yeah, RE engine.
So I'm guessing 3 is going to be the same.
Yeah.
But considering Resident Evil 7 was VR, was Resi 2? I don't know.
No, that was a slight disappointment as well, that they didn't have VR in any way. There wasn't even like a side mode.
Yeah.
And my last thing was I really hope they put Leon Kennedy in Smash Brothers. So that would be nice.
Great.
So yeah, that was all our games of the year: Control, River City Girls, and Resident Evil 2. But with 2020 fast approaching, there's probably some games that you guys are looking forward to, I dare say. Alex, anything on your mind that, coming thick and fast in 2020 that you want to get your hands on?
So my game of 2020 that I'm really excited for is the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because Final Fantasy VII was quite a pivotal game for me. I remember playing it, I can't remember what age, I went round to my uncle's. I didn't even have a PlayStation at that point. And that, as well as Metal Gear Solid, I think first opened up gaming to me to show that things could be narrative driven rather than just purely gameplay. And I hadn't played an RPG before then. I know they existed, but I'd never played one. So it really opened my eyes to the kind of the power of the PlayStation and 32-bit gaming or whatever you want to call it at that stage, but what it could do, and CD-based gaming and FMV sequences and things like that. And I think off the back of the quality of the Resident Evil 2 remake, as Graham's just discussed, it's really given me confidence in what they can do and looking at it, what they have done really, because you can just see how good it looks. They've changed up the battle system, but from reports I've read, they've done really well with it. So they've made it more active than turn-based, and kind of a mix between Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts. But you can also retreat back into the turn-based sort of elements as well if you want to. It's kind of a choice. But yeah, I think it looks brilliant. My only detractor is that it's the first episode coming out. Who knows how long it's going to be before we get all the episodes.
It would be nice if they just gave some indication of how long that's going to go on for. Like if they knew that they were going to do 3, that would be a nice just little tidbit of information to know.
What, so they don't know how many episodes they're going to do?
No.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, what console are they going to be on as well? Because obviously the PS5 comes out next Christmas.
Yeah, there's that.
So are they, they're going to span multiple consoles? Are they going to re-release parts 1 and 2 on the PS5 and carry on? Who knows?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Actually.
Think of the cash on that.
And like Graham said with Resident Evil 2, kind of current styles mixed with classical gaming. Yeah, just all of it excites me. But I'm going to have to duck out.
Yeah, you've been called away for the delicious meal, haven't you?
Everything, yeah, I have.
I'll say this much to you, Alex. I've already had it in mind that once FF7 Remake came out, that is cannon fodder for a big discussion on a Fossil Arcade podcast. So there'll be every opportunity to talk about that.
Oh, stay tuned.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and telling us your favourites, and we'll see you again soon.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
So Ben, why don't you continue? What game are you looking forward to most in 2020?
Well, as I have such a varied palette of interest, it's going to be another brawler for next year. Streets of Rage 4 is what I'm looking forward to.
Oh, yes.
Most. Yeah.
You had a chance to talk to one of the team.
Yeah,
didn't
it
you?
was Ben something. I can't remember his name
He
now.
may want to remain nameless for all we know.
Yeah, so maybe. Well, he's the art director for Streets of Rage 4. He works with for Lizard Cube. I think he co-founded the company actually.
Wow.
So yeah, we got to play it at EGX, and he spotted us because my partner was dressed as Blaze, the new design that he made.
Oh, okay. Is it Ben Fiquet? Something like that.
Fiquier, I guess it would
Yeah,
be. He's French.
Fiquet, right?
Yeah. So we'll just say, Ben Ben from Lizard Cube. Yeah, so he spotted my partner, and then we just got chatting, and he was saying that Sega of Japan, they've started to realize how much nostalgia there is for their old IPs in the West, because in Japan it comes across that they don't really care that much.
Gaming history does seem to be on the kind of, it's a lower priority in Japan than over here.
Yeah,
almost, which is odd to think.
Yeah, it's really strange. But it's good to see that they've recognised that. I mean, that could be what sort of inspired the Mega Drive Mini and things like that to actually kind of make a push for this, legacy that they have built their name on.
I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse, but I do think it's all concurrent, not just with Sega, but like Capcom and Square, realising that people like what they liked, and those things will still make money if they are still provided.
Absolutely. So who knows what we might see in the future. not just Streets of Rage 4, Golden Axe or
New Shinobi with that art style would be great. That kind of like anime paintedly art style would be fantastic.
yeah, it would be.
I loved that. Wonder Boy Dragon's Trap that Lizard Cube did. It was one of the best games that came out that year. The music was phenomenal. So
Yeah, he was the art director for that as well. Really looking forward to that. Yeah, playing it was a lot of fun. Played it a few times. It's, I mean, nothing surprising. It's exactly what you'd expect, and it looks really nice and sounds really good. And they've got a lot of composers on board. Yuzo Koshiro and there are others, but their names escape me now. They've done loads of other stuff, but yeah, there's again a lot of pedigree behind this. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this. And then I think that's the only game that I know of that's coming out next year.
this is the thing, is that when you try to think of it, sometimes the names just go, but there isn't actually a lot that's confirmed of 2020 either.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about Breath of the Wild 2. I'm
sure
assuming we might
yeah.
hear a bit more. We're not going to get the game, obviously.
I think that would be like probably early 2021 though. So
what release?
Yeah, maybe.
If it's based off the Breath of the Wild engine, which
it definitely
looks like
is, isn't it? Yeah. So I think we'll see a lot of it next year, even if it doesn't come out next year.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so what are you looking forward to next year?
Well, we already touched on it very slightly, but Animal Crossing is the big one.
I thought that'd be it.
Almost to the point where I could go on and on and on. So I'll be as brief as possible. But to me, Animal Crossing has been a concurrent thing through my gaming life ever since it first emerged in the early 2000s. I've always been playing Animal Crossing. Played over 1,200 hours of it on the 3DS. So I'm very much invested in New Leaf. And when Animal Crossing New Horizons comes out, I'll be interested to see what they do with it, really, because I'm not interested in them just repeating things like we talked about with Smash Brothers and other games that we've gone over. You want to keep the parts of it which make it, the core Animal Crossing series, but we do want to see like it modernized too. So I want to see how they change it from New Leaf, and it would be nice to have it back on the TV as well, because obviously
you need that kind of couch co-op, I think, to some extent.
Yeah,
like I feel like that's a good way to kind of rejuvenate it a little, or bring something new to it. Because obviously, when it's on the TV before, you could have your own accounts in the same town, but you could never play simultaneously, and I think that would be a good way to go.
Yeah, the simultaneous play, whether it's local or online, is going to be good, I think, and I hope they add a lot of new distractions. Like I'd like to see a lot of new mini games that take advantage of the Switch, and I want to see like a ton of new holidays as well. But the thing that I think that Nintendo has picked up on recently is updating games and providing a lot of free content. And not that I necessarily expect too much for free, and I'm certainly open to paying for DLC if it's good enough quality. But I wouldn't be surprised if they might add in some one-off events where it's like they were doing an event and this is there'll be like some special furniture or something where you can get it just that one time, just to kind of make it feel really, really special. Because it's the real-time elements of Animal Crossing that really make it feel unique. So I'd like to see them kind of taking advantage of the kind of living world kind of thing.
Yeah.
Other than Animal Crossing, which was kind of a go without saying sort of thing, I'm really interested in Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that actually.
It looks really, really polished already, and also we're still 7 months away from release. So I think that when it comes out, it will be a really, really slick experience. The gameplay looks really good, and given CD Projekt Red have a good pedigree with kind of dynamic narratives in RPGs, dynamic storytelling, I think there'll be a lot of depth in the narrative of the story. My only concern with it is that, and this goes for anything really that's coming out on PlayStation and Xbox in 2020, is it too good for that vanilla system? So I'm concerned that although I'm really, really hyped for Cyberpunk 77, is it going to look as good or play as well on my PS4 because I don't have a Pro?
This is a strange situation to be in, because you always felt like console gaming was free of that, because this is a PC gaming problem, and this is something I encounter frequently, because I know most of the stuff I play is smaller titles and indie games and things, but I got the second Tomb Raider. Was it Rise of the Tomb Raider? Maybe, I can't remember. But it barely runs on my PC.
That's the thing, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I need a better graphics card. Now, this is something I expected with PC gaming. Now, as a console gamer, you should be able to get that disc or whatever, put it
And
in
be
there,
confident.
and it should be fine. And it's meant to be optimized for that system or whichever variation of that system. And it shouldn't start being an issue now. And it does make me wonder what's going to happen with console gaming. Are they just turning into PCs that you can't upgrade without buying a whole new system? And that's dangerous.
I think it'll be a good year because even though this generation is coming to an end, and it would be nice if there was a few bigger things to look forward to. It's always great when you know that you're going to get like a big news cycle of new console information, and then it'll be interesting to see what Nintendo does on the other side. Obviously, they've got the Switch; they're not going to upgrade it now; it's too soon. But will they basically play Breath of the Wild 2 against PS5? Because
Oh, right, yeah.
you know, I don't always like get interested in all this sales stuff, but when you do get big kind of corporate attacks like that, it gets interesting. So yeah, I'll be interested to see like did they time it like that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll be 2020 before you know it. So
Yep. Literally, 3 weeks away?
yeah, time just goes so fast these days. But yeah, thank you for listening to the Fossil Arcade podcast and our games of the year. Thanks for joining me, Ben.
No problem.
And thanks to Alex. I'm sure he's well into his dinner by now. Maybe that's one of his dinners of the year.
Let's get a soundbite of him eating.
But yeah, we'll be back with another Fossil Arcade podcast before too long. Like I said, we do want to discuss, games in the new year like Final Fantasy, and we want to get back to doing another music quiz. You can also watch the Fossil Arcade YouTube series on YouTube, where Alex and I play a lot of games and discuss those, and Ben provides all the original composed music for all the Fossil Arcade videos. So we hope you check those out, and we'll see you around.
Bye.